Hey gamers, today we're going to look at Bot Factory. Let's check it out. To set up the game, what you're going to do is you're going to have all your robots here. You're going to select two random tiles and put them here. By the way, I started off with green and then did red, so this pink marker would go there. You can start any way and just go all the way down, but you'll have two different ones there wherever you want to start. You'll see the little track here with all these little bot pieces, body, head, and legs, and also make sure the wheel is where these two icons are exact opposite of each other. Now you also have a little translucent cube you'll leave right here. This is to track your actions. Over here you shuffle all the blueprints, deal 6 out, as well as the wild card, wild pieces for robots here. There's 2 of each type, and you'll put them in those sections there. Over there to the bottom, the top right, I guess I should say, you have the value of each one of the robots. Their starting value is at 6. And then, out of tons of in-game tiles, you're only going to select 9 of them, put the rest back in the box, and then deal these out randomly on the board as so. Finally, Sandra, the pink lady, starts in that position. There are other ones you can use when you're playing a 2-player game to make the board a little bit tighter, but right now if I'm playing 4 players, just Sandra is who we need. Now, each player will start with their meeple and 1 speak token, except for the last player going on that first round, they will start with 2. This is simple worker placement, where wherever you place it, you complete these actions in order. So the person who played the farthest left would go first, and then so on and so forth. And so as you can see, first player will go will change depending on where they are on this. Let's just imagine it's a track, and Sandra will move throughout each track every round and do specific things, which I'll talk about later. But let me just tell you what to do on each track. It's very simple worker placement. It tells you here on the board. Here you can place 1, 2, or up to 3 tiles, bot pieces here on the conveyor belts to build your bot. Now remember, there's 3 types. There's head, body, and legs. And once you put those down, you can get the robot, as long as you have a blueprint. Now I should say everyone starts with a random blueprint. So everyone was started with just a random blueprint. Now you cannot claim that droid unless you have the blueprint for it. And once you've, let's say I put all 3 of the pieces here, I'd claim that red droid. However, if I wanted to claim another red droid, I'd have to get another red blueprint. So that's kind of how it works there. Now, a few things go on when you place a tile. First time, over here, it'll tell you, hey, first time you place a tile, wherever it is, you get 2 speech tokens. Second time someone does it, or you do it, you get 2 more. Third time you do it, you're going to get that robot as long as you have the blueprint for it. There are also little spots on this area which give you bonus actions. There's all bonus actions throughout this whole game here. But these bonus actions say, hey, if you pay a speech bubble, you can grab one of the top cards from any one of those decks. And so it's optional whether you want to do it. So for instance, if I put a droid piece, let's say I had this one, put it here, I would get 2 speech tokens for putting it down, and then I'd get, I could pay one of those speech tokens to grab one of these, and maybe I want this one. And if I was sitting on the 2, then I could play this here, and so on and so forth. Or maybe it was legs, and I got another turn action to do it again. These are combo over and over again if you want them to. Really cool stuff. Now to get one of these though, I should mention, if you pay a speech token, you can switch out, like let's say I had one of these and I really wanted a green body. For 1 speech token, I'd pay it, and then I could switch it out with any other droid part that I have and then take this one with me, and I could even play this if I had the actions. Now I should say on this last action here, it has the emblem there. It says, hey, if you want to put 3 down, you got to pay 1 speech token. Over here is where you're going to get droid parts, and you can get 1 to 3, 1 to 4, or 1 to 6 actions. This tracks your actions, and this is very important because there are so many bonus actions you can do in this game. Now, one of the actions you can do is exchange any 3 droid pieces and exchange them for one of the ones up top here if there's nothing on the wheel you want. And also, when it comes to the wheel, here's how actions go. Let's say this guy does 6 actions, okay? So for my first action, I'll take this one. For second action, I'll take this one. Now, when I take one with these emblems on it, it says, hey, you can pay 1 speech token and put this, or put whatever droid part on the bottom. So I could, let's say I took this one, put it over here. Well, now I could pay another speech token and take one off the top here. You know, so like I said, these actions kind of combo. Now another thing you can do for 1 action would be to turn the wheel and turn it where each yellow line is any section. Now once you have it up here or anywhere up here, if there's empty spots here, you, whoever the current player is, gets to decide which droid parts. Maybe I'm wanting to build a yellow droid, so I put some yellow pieces out there for me. But you can decide which droid parts will fill into those yellow spaces. Any other ones that are missing, they'll be refilled once they get up to this yellow portion here. Now, again, you use this to track your actions, and basically that's it. Except for the first space here, if you use this first space, you get a limited amount of actions, but you do gain a speech token. Over here is the blueprints area. You can grab 1 or 2 blueprints, depending on where you're at. If you grab the ones on the bottom, this gives you an extra speech token. This one lets you spend a speech token, again, to put something on the track. You can grab, yeah, like I said, 1 or 2. You may never have more than 5 blueprints or 5 droid pieces at the end of your turn. So if you don't spend them, you may have to, just discard them. Now, how would you spend, discarded blueprints? Well, you can always, as a free action here, discard 2 blueprints and get one of these miscellaneous pieces that fit on everything. So for instance, this white droid head would go on a red, yellow, blue, or green droid. Now there's 2 of each tile, and these will be returned when you complete a droid. Usually it goes over into the discard pile here, but when you complete a droid using a wild piece, that wild piece would just go back over in that section there. Finally, over on this area, if you go over here, you get 2, 3, or 4. You can spend up to 2, 3, or 4 speech bubbles, and you can do random things. For instance, you could claim 1 of these objectives, or 2, depending on how many you got. So there are 3 speech bubble, 2 speech bubble, and 1 speech bubble objectives. Since you randomly put it on the board, it doesn't matter, but whichever one you claim, you're automatically going to gain those points at the end of the game. And this one, for instance, if the purple player was first to do this, they'd put their little speech token, they'd spend 3, let's say they had 3, and put 1 of them here. So that means if they fulfill this contract and have 2 yellows, they will get 7 points. Now the next person who tries to complete this contract and puts their speech token here, they'll only get 5. Now obviously purple cannot play on 7 and 5. They have to have they can only claim 1. And let's say they claimed these 2 in the game, all right, and they only completed 2 yellow droids and 1 blue. Can they use that yellow droid 3 times? No. They have to have 3 completed yellow droids and 1 blue to get both of those bonus points. That's something to keep in mind. But that's how you can get points at the end of the game. Also, you get points at the end of the game depending on how high your robot is valued at. So instead of getting one of these objective tiles, you can spend speech tokens. You can't spend more than what your space is on, and you can move any of these markers up their track. So for 2 speech tokens, I can move red up 2 spaces, or instead maybe move blue and yellow up 1 space each, whatever you want. The thing is, there are 2 lines here, and whenever you cross them, you can, first one says, hey, grab a blueprint. This one says, hey, put a piece, for free without using a speech bubble, put a piece on the conveyor belt. And this is where you can complete, and all these other actions here, you can complete a droid, maybe even capture one without even being on this tile. So there's a lot of good management here because you can never go to the same little section twice in a row. You have to go somewhere else and then come back later. So it's a big balancing act of which areas you want to go and in which order. Now, after that's done, after everyone's taken their turn, let's say this is how it looked in blue and purple. Well, starting with the blue player, he's going to select an action where it can't be in this section, even though there's open spaces. He's got to go to another action here. And maybe he goes here, okay, and he'll stand up. And then orange will say, okay, I'll go over here. And then yellow goes, oh, I want to go up here. And purple goes, oh, me too, but I'll go down there. Okay, so now it'll be yellow, purple, then blue, then orange. And that's kind of how the rounds will go because you'll start from the left. I should mention, though, that Sandra will always move to the next section to the leftmost spot and occupy that. And if you do move after the first round, if you do move on Sandra, you pay an extra speech token to speak to her, of course. She counts an extra speech token whenever she's in that area. But what Sandra does is a few things. When she's here, and these little icons on the board tell you what Sandra does each time, but how you read this one, she takes these 2 and then replaces it with the next 2 in line. So she'd replace it with a yellow, then move down here, get a blue, and so the next time she's going to pull a green whenever she pulls one. So then she'll just replace them with those pieces. If she's over here, she's going to fill in any of these empty spaces that aren't in the yellow with droid parts up here. So for instance, she's going to say, well, she started with green and then red, so we put a green here and a red here, and the Sandra marker would go there. When she's over here, she's going to go ahead and boot these bottom 2 blueprints, shove everything down, and bring new ones out. Now, at the end of a round, you're going to do that anyway. You're going to boot these bottom 2 out. But when Sandra's there, you're going to do it again. Okay, so it kind of speeds you through the blueprints. If you ever run out of blueprints, you can always reshuffle the deck and put them there, put them back here. Over here, what she's going to do is she's going to move up one of the values of the droids. If there's a tie, she'll move them both up. All right, and so that's what you do. And again, you have to pay an extra speech token if you move into your area if it's not in the first round. The game ends when someone has created, or when all the droids of one color have been created, or someone has created 5 droids. After that's over, you'll add up your value of droids, any in-game points. Every 2 speech bubbles count as a point, but any unfinished blueprint counts as -2 points, and any extra droid pieces count as -1 point. And whoever has the most points wins. Final thoughts, what do I think about the game? I love Eagle-Gryphon games. I don't get much of their games because I find a lot of them to be too finicky and just not games that fit in me or my gaming group's wheelhouse. However, every once in a while, they come up with a gem like this one. Worker placement, great. That you can't do back-to-back actions in the same place saves this game. This game would be no good if you could do that. It's about balancing out your actions and using those combos. Man, one girl, and the thing is, you think you play this, it's almost like you think you're playing an individual game. We were all going for like a yellow, blue, and green. We were all going for different robots. The 4th girl, she didn't know what she was going for, but she just grabbed a bunch of blueprints. We didn't realize that she had all the pieces that she needed to complete all 3 of our robots. So as we had just 1 piece remaining, and then we were looking at each other going, oh yeah, you don't have this. She didn't get those blueprints till last minute, and then she went over there, completed 3 robots in 1 turn, almost won the game. Sadly, she had too many blueprints and pieces left over, and she lost, I think it was like 8 points, and I won because I didn't have any negative points, which is very hard to do. To manage it, to be that efficient, and making sure you don't have any extra droid pieces or that you don't have any extra blueprints, that's really hard. But this game is a blast. I love it. Potential top 100, no kidding. I was really blown away. I love the pieces. I like the theme. Like I said, I always look for good Eagle-Gryphon Games stuff because I have a bunch of them, but I won't get every Eagle-Gryphon games. Like I said, a lot of the popular ones that people like just aren't for me. This one, however, is excellent. Excellent. Well worth your time. All right, gamers, that's it for now. Until next time, you know what to do. Game on!